this up. Item 1.1 and Ellen and Robert. Page 2. Amanda Jacobs and
Mario.
And yeah, so the team is here. So we have item 2.1, public comment guideline. And this is a time for the public to address the committee on anything that is within the jurisdiction of this committee, whether or not it is noticed on the agenda. And so if folks that are on Zoom would like to speak now, or if you'd like to let us know if you would like to reserve your comments for a specific item, or if you would like to raise your hand at any time during the meeting, and so we can yield to your request at that point. And raise your hand if anybody wants to speak now. So we don't have any hands raised, so folks are.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Item 3.1, physical education building project decision point. And I will turn it over to.
Okay, thank you very much. I wrote a lot, tried to cover everything. But there are quite a few tasks that we're engaged in that I thought I needed to know whether or not the project, whether I go forward. The biggest one is LPA designing, doing the planning, the design, PSA approval for the first part of the project. So if you think of the PE project, two pieces. The first piece is to, you look at the building from the street, is to tear down the right side of it, which is the restroom, the locker, office. Stabilize the left side of the big box, then grade the land under the building is today. Test the land under where it is today, because we were going to test to see how high the ground was. Then design and install the temporary locker rooms, the offices, all of that. That's the first project, and that's about $4 million. Right? And so that's taken into BSA, and that's a project, a pretty big project, and quite by itself. So rather than go ahead and start that project, which is around $800,000, because they're bid, do that design work, I thought I would stop, like, completed the project. So that was the impetus to the whole thing. So you can see there are a number of other things. One is if we do an RFP, request for qualification for a construction manager. We need someone, not me, not Rob Morales, but someone to actually shepherd this project through, coordinate all the different things. So that's another expense. Not the RFP is not expensive, but hiring them. A lot of effort. And so that's on. Then there are a number of other smaller things I didn't put on there, and I should have. We would have to begin coordinating with the city, or engage with the city, and ultimately for the coastal commission to get a building. So I didn't have that on here, but all of those things are on hold. And let's see, what are the things that we are doing? A number of things that we're continuing. One is that we have a number of offices that are in portable that would need to move out so that the PE athletic programs could move in. And I want to get them out of those. And so the IoT Resource Center, we're moving to the Learning Resource Center, and tutoring down into. So those are things we're working on today. Anyway, that will free up space at the athletic program. I'm also trying to find a new home for security and a new home for purchase out of the. But that is there are several things that modulars. I don't know if you saw on the structural report, but it shows there are 42% of our buildings. 42%, right? That seems wrong. It should be a small amount for temporary fun. So anyway, I'm trying to move people into permanent space, get rid of the temporary. We need these for swing space for the project, but that's one of the needs to now we're air conditioning budget are lightly used. That's a separate. So I am continuing to work on trying to relocate the FRC, warehouse, purchasing, secure. Those are things. And the seismic study. When we were at the board meeting, I was asked several questions, a list of questions, and I've addressed most of them. The detailed plans, I attached the copy of the presentation. Is in there. Enrollment projections, and Kathy O'Connor has reminded us that it's not just PE athletics, their program FTS, but also the student athletes who are students in other things, curriculum. So I think that they have several hundred student athletes in her note that she mentioned. And so it's a little undercounting the way I asked institutional research, and they gave me it undercounts what they do in a semester. But it does give you an idea how big the PE athletic program is. That's their major, but it doesn't give you a good indication total and how important it is. I have the revised construction schedule on there, and that was one of the other things. In my memo, I tried to highlight that. This is a big thing, is that if you think of the PE project itself, the construction of the new building is going to take about 2 years. The demolition and the make ready project happened before is going to take about 8 months, right? And so I started adding up the time. If we wait until, and the money has to be spent, has to be fully encumbered by July of 2020, but it has to be completely spent too. So if you start backing up on the dates, we don't start until we pass a bond measure. We won't have spent all the money in that period of time.
Spent all?
Within 2 years of starting. And it does take the
Well,
time.
excuse me, can he put up the schedule
schedule
that you're referring to? Would you mind putting
the
up?
schedule? You have that right there. It's a pretty hard one to see, and you really need to blow it up. So, and this is just the schedule that they have. I use this because it gives you the times, not because we're going to do it, because it has already started back in April. But the important part, the other critical thing here is that to do this according to the state's sort of procurement rules is that we have to bid these two projects separately. That's an issue because we're going to have one company potentially tear it down, and they're going to have to go through a lot of things happen. The first have to go down, and then the second, and then they're going to leave, and the next company mobilizes, brings in all of their stuff, their trailer, their things. They criticize all of the work the guy that's left did for a month, and they tell us everything that's wrong with how they thought it was going to be, right? So then we argue about that, and then they start. And so if you don't have a minute's delay, we come really close to getting done. I think that there's going to be time to start and have a delay. Next project starts. All the things that can happen with weather and all that, we will not get.
No, go.
2 years and 7 months is a ideal schedule. I mean, that should take that, but we know that won't happen because there will be change orders, there will be this,
It'll rain,
rain.
they'll discover something.
So, and you estimated 4 to 6 months extra to
Minimum.
expect. So now we're talking really instead of 2 years. But that, it is what it is. But we have to keep.
So the problem, so in my note, I was trying to say, that runs the risk of the $35 million that we got. We won't have spent all 35 million before our time is up. So it may increase the cost.
What is it to have been spent?
That means that we spend the money, then we get reimbursed and get it back.
So we
And
will
that
have,
takes several months.
so we will have to checks for.
Right, and that takes a little while. So like, well, it needs to be out by June 30th of 27th. We may have to, submit our invoice in April. Make sure that's done. So what I'm saying is,
Well, can't we just use that money first?
absolutely, we would do that. We would do that. So it may not be. So we would use their money. Absolutely. But if there's, it still runs the risk that we are under pressure to finish. So it doesn't cost us.
So two questions. When we say we have dollars, don't finish it by a certain state 2-year requirement. Are we just putting in jeopardy the amount that has been spent?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like
No, not 35
huge.
million.
Okay. And then, in the second,
And remember, it's
While you're remembering,
yeah,
did you say that we have to use 2 separate companies? One for demolition and one for construction?
No, we just have to visit. So because the state has nothing to do with the first priority.
Nothing to do with demolition.
No, that's all our project, right? It's our choice to do it this way, right? If we wanted to do it and not have, that's why you said the thing, but we don't want to have a PE program or relocate it somewhere else.
Oh,
We would tear the whole thing down if one company would do. But we're trying to make it so that we can still have a program.
right.
So if we want to
How
have,
many places?
we really don't. Other places would say, we're gonna have swing space and we'll, at El Camino where I was, we kept the old gym and we built a new one over in another place.
Yeah.
Right, and so they just continued to have their program. In fact, they kept the old building.
Yeah.
So now they have, 2 gyms. One's really old and one's brand new, but they kept the old gym. So, but we're building it right back up. Because their project was bond funded. And they built a whole different, so they could have it. So there's a lot of constraints when we're using.
so,
Brian,
I'm sorry.
I'm wondering, since on this topic of the 2 bays, is Kathy able to chime in and talk to us about the option of relocating? Oh, yeah, oh, good, Kathy, you hear me, excellent. And this is not me having a preconceived conclusion, just you tell us what that entails to move a program if it's people, because we know Peabody came to us when Peabody was renovated, they came to us, and so that's out there that we could potentially, so thank you for hearing.
Yeah, so would like to chime in on the whole relocation issue because the reason that we came up with the demolition of half the building was because we could not figure out how to relocate anywhere. First of all, on campus, we were looking for a place to put an alternate temporary gymnasium, and we did extensive research on that cost. And we actually had a place on the upper campus where we could put it, but the cost of actually purchasing that building and having showers attached and so forth just became sort of ridiculous. there is no place in town that we can go, even for our athletic teams, if we were only thinking about them. The high school gymnasiums, Westmont's gym, UCSB's gym, which would be way too far to consider our students going, they're all utilized during the day. And so trying to find gym space anywhere in town is very difficult, which is one of the reasons that we actually were looking at some kind of an alternative gymnasium here on campus. And the best solution that we could come up with was to demo half the building, because that maintains not just the gym, but also the Life Fitness Center, which we need to have the Life Fitness Center. It generates significant FTES, even during now this time when we're coming back from COVID. You know, our enrollments are building every semester, and we have a way to grow that also. So we would keep the gym, we would keep the Life Fitness Center, and then demo the other half of the building. And that seemed to us and to LPA and to the administration at the time that that was the most logical thing to do. As you saw in the email that I sent you, suspending our program would kill it. We would really never recover from that. When you build an athletic program over a matter of, almost 50 years, which I started in 1973, you just don't come back from suspending an athletic program. It would take years, let alone the establishment of our physical education classes. So I understand the easiest thing to do would be to say, oh, well, to heck with PE and athletics while we build a building. Well, that's just untenable for a program. And then on campus, the easiest thing to do is demolish, and then all we had to do with the additional buildings was put in the shower complex, and then we would convert the building that was our Life Fitness Center years ago, that's now the security and FRC, would become our dance room, our athletic or PE activity room. And then if the facilities people would move out of there, put our training room in there also, but I don't think there was a plan to move them, although that would be the best thing for us. So that's sort of the status of where we are facility-wise.
Thank you, Kathy. There's an attachment that Brian put, and what is the title? Time constraints for the P building? Is that the attachment, Brian?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
memo.
we're looking at a memo, and if we go to the second page, this is the option that Kathy has told us it's not an option for us. So option 3 is off the table.
And I didn't mean to suggest I was recommending any of these. I was just trying to say, what are all the things that if we wanted to do this project, I wanted to include them all. I'm not saying, oh yeah, we should pause the program.
Yes,
So
just
it
option.
is I'm not recommending any of these.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't think number 3 is an option. In addition to what Kathy has told us today, I mean, I think since the time that the plan for the phased construction, in other words, the removal of one half and continuing the other half, was such a neat solution. Always thought that was a great way to go. That makes this problem. So I agree. I mean, I think this doesn't make any sense.
And option 4 is not an option we're going to entertain. We're not going to return money.
I'm not.
I also agree with that. I think we're talking about option 1, 2. Neither option 1 or option 2 are perfect. But that's where we are. That's where we are because it's taken so long to come to this decision forward.
So basically, is it all right if we talk?
Please,
Okay,
yes.
So,
And everyone on Zoom, please just raise your hand and participate.
so I'm not really sure if we get to decide this, or if this has to be a full board decision. But, I think the question we need to answer is, are we going forth with this project, whether or not the bond passes? And if we are going to do the project, whether or not the bond passes, then we should start ASAP so that we have a chance of getting coming in, the wire.
But good. So on number one, I was saying there is a possibility that we would spend out of our own pocket, part of the 35. If we did it right, we wouldn't, right? I mean, if we spend their money first and we hustle, we should get it all spent. But change orders are a big deal, right? If we do a 50, $150,000, $200,000 change order, it gets a lot of scrutiny. Well, if we lose $5 million, that's why I wanted to put it on the table.
No,
is that-
I'm glad you did.
so it is a possibility. It is a possibility if, when we do it, that we have two different contractors do it and change orders because of that. So there's, if you estimate a project or what you think it will cost, I always say you got to add some. UC system, and I've experienced that they have a very high estimate and always come in under budget. Right? If we have an accurate, this is what we think is going to be, change orders, and you beat yourself up. Oh, that job was a disaster because of the change. Well, it's because realistically, there's a lot to do on this project. Very old building, or testing run underneath it, or want to change. Yeah, contract. It could delay it. So there is risk of us more money than 70, 80,000 people.
So to your point, Ellen, yes, our committee and with the team on Zoom and here, and after all the discussion, we would then make a recommendation to Kindred to then bring this to the board. That committee is recommending to move forward ASAP. And the thing that is working in tandem with this is the financing of it. And so then that's when the fastest thing would be to just bring it to the whole board, or you can schedule a fiscal committee meeting. But regardless, going forward, I think most of these things should just come to the whole board so we can hash it out and move it. Can you, just for the record, Brian, do you mind going over the certificate of the COPs? Just so that
Right,
Ellen, we did look at that option 2, the COPs, and I'm asking Brian if he could just at a high level go over that.
Earlier, I said that if we wanted to borrow money, we would go out and sell, I don't know, familiar with how these are done. They're
I
very,
read about it a couple of days ago.
right, yeah, so it's, anyway, you borrow money, the Prop 13 says you can't borrow money without voter approval. COPs have been a long established way of, and what that is that you essentially lease a space to a funding agency. And they, when I was at the county, they would lease the administration, or they would lease the jail. And so someone would say, I'll lease the jail from you for 25 years. And they go, great, I need 30 for that lease. I wouldn't pay it all up front. Here's your $30 million. They would borrow the money. Give you 30, and you go, I have prisoners. Oh my gosh, I need to lease it back. And they would go, okay, well, my annual payment is $1 million. Nothing great to do that. So that's how COP. But they're legal. People have been doing it since Prop 13 passed. I mean, that's what we would do. We would issue COPs, and then we would have to pay that back out of our operating, which is something that we're generally not to do, because we would have to take money from operation. And we could do it. One of the things that Erica suggested to look at our early retirement program, where we had some retirement payments every year, and I'm not sure how much. I think around $7 to pay off those employees retired early. That payment ends pretty soon, and we can just convert that payment from that program to payment.
We have
So without affecting our operation. No. Yeah.
We have two CERTs, so
We
yes.
did, but I think one was already
Is it
paid off.
based out
One's
the-
already paid off.
completely?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other one, I just approved an invoice to the day for around $700,000-800,000. But that might be about. So we don't have a lot of money. And my earlier email showed going out to 2030. But that would be a source, but it wouldn't affect our operations as much because we're already used to having that.
What would be the size, what would be roughly the size of the COP we're talking about?
You know,
under
Well,
option two?
if they've given us 35 million, and right now we're thinking two projects are probably close to 80, so when you add another year or so to that, probably 85. Construction costs are very high, right? So, that's $50 million. $50 million, I don't know what that would be, but I had in my earlier emails. And we have some of that money already because we have 7 something set aside right in construction. I think foundation has committed to these.
David, 5 to 7 that I think you asked, they don't have children.
Right, so that would reduce it down, so they 7. It would get, so it would be, we'd need more than 20.
So I read somewhere on the materials for today, 72.4 million.
That was
So-
an early, one of these estimates, but it's already higher.
Yeah, it's already, that was originally thinking something 0.5 million to 1.9 million for debt service to cover with our reserves, what we already have at 1.3.
So, go ahead, Ellen.
So I want to understand this. If we say we're going forward, and start ASAP, does that mean that we are saying that want to use the CFP, or is it still possible that we won't have to use those if we have successful bottom line?
Maybe both, if I could. We would potentially, we would need to have a funding source. We would be able to do the make ready, right?
Yeah.
The tear down. And so if we thought now's a good time to sell it now and then pay them off with our bond measure, which is
Yeah,
the
Because
campus
the bond
do.
is not really.
Oh, yeah, no, and we don't
Yeah.
pay anything, so if we have a bond measure pass, it attaches to the property. It's not, we have a bond measure, in the past that we're still paying now because here with that, so we had a bond measure.
Measure B still on our tax.
Right, so if you're a taxpayer, you'll see, or if you look at your tax bill carefully, there is an item for our loan to pay it off. And so every year we pay off. Yes. So anyway, it's in our budget. We get the money from the collective treasury. Which is different.
So Brian, are you saying that we could, well, hearing you talk right now makes this scenario, maybe that's what, that we would borrow. Well, maybe it's another option you haven't presented, but what Ellen is saying, we started right now. We just bingo, and I just move as quickly as we can. We would have to do a COP. But we wouldn't have to do a COP for the 50 million or the 45 million. We'd have to do a COP for what we would need between now and the bond measure, hopefully.
So if you think that we would still need to engage LPA to do the detailed plans and drawings and get it through PSA, that'll take 8 months right there.
Yeah.
So if you think of November 2024, that's just a little over a year and a month, right? So we're gonna just be getting the approval from DSA. And then we go out to bid for the first phase, right? We wouldn't be starting until right about the time the bond measure. I mean, if we started today, we still wouldn't be too much in advance of the bond measure.
And we have some money, we have.
And we have $7 million in our pocket to start it with, and so we could conceivably do all of the LPAs and all of the preliminary work and the make ready $4 million project. So one of the things I was trying to highlight is that if the bond measure doesn't pass, then we would be in the position, right? Continue.
Well, option 2 is really what you were just talking about.
Right. It's been a while since I wrote that, but yes, I think that was what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up this though, because I understand, why not? But if we commit to moving project, we need to have what we're going to do with finance secure, because the counselor's office.
Well, remember, the first project is entirely.
So just do that piece, and then we just do that piece separate.
But at the same time, if we want to have the same contractor, hopefully, do the whole project, so it is kind of what you're saying is if we wanted to have, then we would maybe want to bid them both at the same time, because we would want the same contractor to, right, potentially. Because if we did it completely separately, then the chances of us not getting the same. So I guess you're kind of right. We would kind of have to look at.
The continuity is important to me to make sure that those pieces are working in sync together. Parallel to this, you mentioned the foundation, and I'm going to continue my position. I am not okay with the foundation holding $20 million. That was a gift to the college when we have such an important instructional program that really needs to get off the ground. So I know Kendra, you said I can go ahead and call Jeff. I like to keep a house of order. I'd rather Jeff come to a board meeting. We need to get this on the table. The $20 million, the Mackenzie Scott.
He's coming to your board retreat, and we're going to have to schedule that either July 10th, somewhere from July 10th to 20th. So that he's committed.
Okay, so my recommendation would be, sure, have him on the agenda as a presentation, whatnot, but then the next agenda item, what to do with that money, because this idea that we are wondering what to do when someone gave us the gift of a lifetime, unrestricted money with no strings attached, and we have the potential to really impact student success at a level that we just have not had from birth all the way to senior citizen is something that is important to all of us. So I think that the recommendation then is move forward. Obviously, we have the revenue that we need to hash out, but with regard to this project.
Well, I definitely think this should go before the full board, and I think I'd like to get that on, it's conceivable.
So I plan on, we were going to have, you guys have a whole list of stuff you want before I leave. So I was planning on trying to have something about July. So that's what we're working toward. That's why we've got this meeting. And then we were going to ask for a full study session, the whole entire board, because we've got to know what to do. I mean, Brian needs to know. So that's how I'm kind of scheduling right now, because we've got your regular meeting the 15th. We could try to do it toward the end of June. I don't know where you guys going to be. Are you feel like you're ready?
For the P building? Yes, yeah, I'm ready.
But
Then I can
June
try.
28th, I'll be gone. If
Okay.
that's it.
Well, I'll run a doodle poll because I was planning around July 15th. We'll see what we can.
Are you comfortable with the recommendation to move forward and bring it to the board?
Oh, yeah, I think we need to move. I mean, that's a separate issue from the foundation. But absolutely, we need to move as quickly as we can. I would just like to say that, my thinking at the moment when I look at the four options, well, we eliminated 3 and 4. Between 1 and 2, I tend to favor 1, although there are risks involved. There are risks involved in both 1. But I just don't, as a practical matter, option 2 already tells us we're going to need COP, most likely. And I just don't think, well, I don't think that option is going to be well received, but I guess what I think. I mean, I've had great concerns about the COP route. I have concerns about doing a bond measure, asking the community to pay back a debt that we have. That's where my concern. I think that could be a significant issue for some. But for that reason, I favor end of favor option. Keeping my mind open, but I'm just saying what might be.
On those lines, if we were to be aggressive, even out for a bond measure, we would be tearing down the building time. Potentially, you're asking for money to replace it.
So it's sort of the same thing as what you're saying.
That just adds to
Exactly.
it.
So, but yeah. The other thing is I'm looking at the list from this my first memo about potential funding sources. So this is if we are short 40 million. So this is if it costs 75, which I think it was 8 from the capital projects, which we have spent a bit since. There was an earlier estimate.
I'm sorry. You started with what you're saying, where the money's coming.
Right.
The
So
construction
the
fund.
state is giving us 35.
Yeah.
And the project was anticipated to be about 75 million when I got it.
But now we're up to 85.
Well, I think we would already be moving, because I think it had us starting in April of this year. And that was the estimate. And so we know it's going to be, and prices are going up a lot. So if they were giving us 35 and we need 75, that's borrowing or coming up with $40 million. So 8 of that was going to come out of our construction. That's a little. I think there's about 7.5 because I didn't have all that time. The equipment and replacement fund about 900,000. Use money in another capital project. It's still our money. It's still under but it's
Equipment, what's
it's equipment. Capital projects is fund 3. Well, equipment replacement is fund 40. It's just another one of our funds that we stick money over there. We buy large pieces of equipment, servers, trucks. So anyway, we would take some money out of another one of our. And then we would take $7 million out of our reserves. And we have like $35 million or something in reserves. 20, some of that is designated.
Right.
We would use most of our, later in the agenda, you'll see I'm asking for part of that reserve already, so 7 for that, the foundation giving 5. And then we would borrow 19. So like the 7 out of general reserves, difficult. Some absolutely have to be 10. And see, so the COP means. And then I gave a real quick thing if we were to borrow money for 5 years on annual payment. This is a $4 million, way too high. But if we went out 30 years, this is at 5% interest, it would be around 2. And so if we borrowed money with a COP, we would want to pay. And then it gives you several opportunities to pass a bond measure to pay it off, right, over 30 years.
The borrowing the money, we had a presentation a few years ago, and so this is basically like an equity line in your home, right? You're taking money out of the property. This is, or we have capital in our properties, we'd be borrowing against our own capital.
A COP?
No, the borrowing, we had the presentation to borrow money, and then, but the calculation at the time, the the interest rate, the payment was more than what we
It's,
could absorb at the
a
time.
COP is a higher interest rate than a general obligation bond. Not a lot, but it is. Because another thing about COPs, it's not long-term, by that legal definition, it's not long-term debt, because every year you have to appropriate your lease payment. So that's how it gets around. It's not really a debt. When you call it a debt, the financial statements legally is. So people know that it's legally not, and so the interest rate is. So that's the, and we just wanted to have the discussion because the other part of the thing that I was really going after here was to say, the last paragraph, are we going to do this if we pass it? If we don't pass it, the no-go decision, are we going to do a bond measure? So that was, we've been talking for this 5 months I've been here talking about, oh, we're definitely bond measure, we're definitely doing it. And we've been talking about the gym. And when I talked to the state chancellor's office, they're anxious for us to say yes or no. And if it's no, then they will take that money because other projects that are in that same year of funding, maybe are overspent. They will use it. But if the longer we delay, the less chance they have.
So I'm a go on all three of those.
Okay, good.
I just think we have to move on it. We have to. I mean, I don't know if we can have a board action where we decide we want, without getting into the specifics of the amount of the bond. Can we just vote to say
No.
we want to do a bond or
That-
pursue a bond or what? But because I know the big discussion is do a bond with the mountains. But to me, the decision is, yeah, bond, and that bond needs to include the PE bill.
So staff needs some kind of investment. I mean, that's exactly what we're pushing. You don't have to do a vote and say we're going to pass it on. But we do need to know, like we need direction from the majority of the board that says we are going to move toward doing a bond for 2024. Because, and I can say this because I'm leaving. You can fire me today, that's fine. But we've got to make a decision on that because this PE building really kind of depends on it in a lot of ways. Otherwise, the college is going to a fair amount of cost. And the next piece that you're going to see with the seismic issue should be very compelling to this board that you need to go out for a bond for safety. And I can say that to you very honestly. I cannot rest with this kind of a seismic report, a PE building with the condition of it, and say I'm not going to attempt to do something.
So definitely, I feel like to go for a bond. And I think it needs to include maybe enough money to replace the three worst things. And I'm sort of late to the game in terms of how it was decided that the PE building was the first thing that was going to be replaced. But I'm making the assumption that it was one of the choices because it was in one of the worst conditions. Is that correct?
I mean, the formula is the Q, it's the funding from the state.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
That's also very
You got seismic funding because of the level 5 issue with locker rooms. And so it is seismic funding that you got from the state, which is a message to the board that you have a seismic problem with the gym and that it needs to be.
Yeah. Can we get that kind of funding on any of the other buildings?
Well, that's interesting. So it's a competitive process. Every year you apply with all of the other colleges, and it's a very competitive process. Now, we've won that contest 2 times in the past. We waited till the very end. We said no, I gave the money back, and or we were going to do the School of Media Arts Toma project, which is a building that's going to be up there, guide student service. Years ago, we got funding for it. The project came in over what they were giving us, so we said no. And then just a handful of years ago, we got it to replace the campus center. I think the campus center project was about $8 million in my own pocket, and we said no. And I think we put in about $5 million in that building right now. So we've done it twice, and so this is one of the reasons on my note too. I'm saying that we probably won't get money. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to, we need to work on this.
So for item 3.1, any thoughts, Kathy? Our recommendation to Kindred will be to bring this to the board to move forward. And so the second piece parallel to this is discussing the funding as to how we will get this off the ground. Does anybody have any thoughts before we move on from item 3.1?
I'd just like to thank you all for being willing to pursue this in a timely manner. I'm very concerned about putting this project off because, as you've all said, getting this done in 2 years and 7 months is going to be a challenge. The sooner we can get started, the better. And I'm sure you will not be sorry when we have the end product and we have a beautiful building that will bring students to our campus and the community to our campus. It can really be a showplace for us that is very visible to everybody in the community, which is another positive aspect. So thank you very much for willing to move some things forward, and I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, team on Zoom. If anybody else has any final
I
thoughts.
just have one more question. That is, if we did option 1 and we couldn't quite meet the deadline to have it completed in order to get all the state funds, is there any possibility that the state, or is there any knowledge that the state has a history of being forgiving about those deadlines? I know you can't count on it, but it's something to know.
But I don't know the answer to that. I would think that they gave this money was granted to us several. I don't.
Yeah.
I've had one project, and it was the desert tortoise
Yeah.
problem. And we were able to show that the delays we had were significant enough that we are. I mean, we had to buy property in Joshua Tree Park, et cetera. So I know of one, but that's been a long time ago, but I think it's something that we should do, because I think if you're far enough in the project and they can see that you've done and doing due diligence, I just have a hard time thinking just plug on it.
My other thought on that is that if we can't quite meet the deadline, my guess is, not that I'm an expert on this, but my guess is that we would be at a situation short $10 million, or less. And so at that point, I mean, we have other options we're talking about here that we spent, and there would be money to go to, if not a COP or something. But so for those reasons, I really think that option 1 is
I only laid all of that out because time is short.
right.
I just wanted, it's not that we don't have enough time, it's just short. We need
And it's the groundwater issue, huge question. We don't know.
groundwater issue, and sea level rise.
Yeah.
No matter how much we think, oh yeah, there we are in the studies have changed a lot, even in the last 10 years. So it's sort of
What's the time difference you think between option one and option two in terms of completing the project?
you know, I was just I don't remember exactly. I wrote down.
What, you said in option two, obtain the approval and permits and begin the first project in May 24. So I'm assuming then that that's a 6-month jump on option one.
Right. It's to start moving soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Or 5 months.
Got a 6.
It'll take a while. I can't write. I did schedule. I was sitting there working that schedule, trying to. If we were to start now, and I start with all the things, preliminary work. Anyway, that's. Thank you very much for discussion and recommendation.
Thank you, and thank you for putting together such detailed information. And this is what I envisioned as a very simple, someone that doesn't know the nitty-gritty, and I think you did a good job. So thank you, Brian.
There was another. I'm sorry. If I can go back real quick, I saw Kendra had it up here. On there, we talked about the different construction methods.
Right. Obviously, spec, Brian.
And the conversation at the board meeting got a little confused, and I wanted to, so I laid that one out. If you could bring that one up real quick, because this is important. We only really have one option, in my opinion, on this. So, is this traditional design bid build, which is low bid, and it is not the best method, but it's kind of the only one we have on this. But for one, like design build, we would have been working with a construction company, architect all along, and they come up. How that one works is you kind of come up with a concept, and they come up with different projects that will ultimately look different because a different company designed it and another one is building it. So they're on the hook to deliver that at that point. Here you have an architect designing it, and something else based upon the plans, this is what it will cost. So that's really the only one. If you scroll down, if you look quick, multi-prime. Now, what this one is that this is another option that we have. And instead of a general contractor, think of it as a low bid one, where you have a general contractor, and that company goes out and gets plumbing contractors and roofing contractors and concrete, structural, and so then the general contractor manages all of those subcontractors, right? And that person is on the hook to make them work together to deliver the product. Multi-prime, we're that person. We're that company.
You're the contractor.
We are multi-prime, so we are the ones who go get all of these, and we manage all of those with our construction, right? And so while any one of those is a lot less risk, and the total, there's a lot of them. And we don't really have a long history, I would say no history, of doing it. So some places who have an infrastructure of construction people on staff or that they use, this is something that is an option. Right? But I would say for us, given our wherewithal, it's not. It is an option legally, but
I mean, do we have a contractor that we works for us already?
we have project managers that help us on projects, but we don't have. So I just wanted to, because if you scroll again, the other one, construction manager at risk. So this is another one where this is not even available to us on this project, and it's a different. And this is what I think Marcia was referring to, transfer the risk to them.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't believe this one. I think if you scroll to the bottom of this, I don't think this was available to us.
There was
In our case,
Brian, there
CMR
was-
is not allowed for projects using state funding.
Okay.
So that's what it is. But there is case law now that does allow the lease back. with, after what happened with Fresno and that, but the caveat for us is that we're not funding this with
This
site.
is not lease back. This is construction manager at risk.
Okay,
it's
was
new.
Marcia asking about lease back?
No, she was wanting to do the at risk where
Okay.
we pass off the risk to the construction.
I thought she was talking about multi-prime.
Well, that's where I wanted to have this document because we're kind of
Oh, I
confusing
see.
those two.
Yeah, and lease back, Craig,
Is not,
confirmed, can't. State funding.
So
That
Or
was-
now K-12 can't, but
what was used, do you know, in camp in this building, or this building?
Well,
Because I hear Marcia talking about that all the time, about
Well,
problems.
Brian, if I heard you correctly, option one is similar to the lease back. No, let me ask you this. Under option one, are the change orders going to come to us?
yes, option one, yes.
still would come
Yeah,
to
that's that's the low bid, yes. So here, if I could real quick, I won't go on as to what
So
an hour.
on lease back, you just say Robert
Yeah.
contractor, take it and you do all that. And so we had the drama music Garvin, which was a lot more than we thought. But then the building on the main campus, humanities building, that was a lease back.
Okay.
And that's no longer,
But we don't know what West Campus,
this one,
this one.
this one,
This
well,
one was not
fine.
lease.
wasn't it?
I think this was multi-prime, this
Yeah,
one
this
was,
was multi.
but they had, at the time, they had, done with the bond, they had a program manager, Lundgren, and they did it on the, of the program manager, or project manager they had. You don't have,
So if I just might add, I mean, I read through all of this, tried to get my head around it, and I couldn't. And so I have faith in our administration. I've heard both of you say design, bid, build. And that's frankly good.
Well, it's the variable that we're limited because we can't get creative because we have funding for it. So, I mean, I think that this, all of this will be attached to the regular board meeting we're going to have as another run through for them to see what we saw. So at that point, I mean, it's clear to me, Brian, from what you've explained, and I think from someone that even if I had known nothing about the project, the variables are state funding and limitations with what you can and cannot do as you get someone to build.
There's one more variable I need to mention,
That's what,
the management that oversees it.
Yeah.
So this is where the expectations, frankly, I used to be a CBO, so I know the expectations really super well. And you have to manage this stuff, and you have to keep an eye on it. You have to have a process for change orders. It has to be clean, and you have to be able to report it, show it, and keep your information really clean. That is an important variable, is the management.
When Angie used to print agendas, our agenda packet that we would review, I kid you not, like that.
You can't be lackadaisical and manage a good construction project. It requires being very firm and being very transparent so that you see
what's happening.
what's going on.
a lot of change orders are driven by the owner, us. Because people will start see the thing coming, being built. They'll go, oh, well, it should be cool if the door was over there. I mean, it's true. And you designed it a few years ago, right? By the time it gets rebuilt, some of the same people here, or the times have changed. I don't know. So there's a lot of things that drive change. And some of them are more controllable. So anyway, I'm sorry to dwell.
That's perfect.
So I just
Awesome.
wanted to hit on that one, because that was a big part of our discussion.
Yeah.
Since I think
Perfect. Physical education, building, and health and fitness. Here we come. You're going to sign up for Pilates. This is where I learned how to exercise at Santa Rosa City College. And when people found out how much I was paying for a Pilates class, they were like, "What?" And they were signing up. And we have some of the best instructors. So thank you. Item 3.2. Huh? Lisa, what's that?
That was an hour, I could just.
Oh, no, I was, my watch,
Oh.
I started ringing and then this music started playing. I was like, what the heck?
Telling you to get up and move.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to leave you because I've got an issue I've got to go deal with. I know. Now that we know this piece, I will deal with that. And you can hear the rest.
At this rate, with my other 8 items, we'll be under your budget.
And I might have my issue dealt with by then. So,
I'll be quick, I promise.
No problem.
let's see.
So we do have a meeting Thursday, correct?
Yes, we have a meeting Thursday and the Finance and Audit Committee has a meeting tomorrow. We have
Okay.
3 board meetings this week.
Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Kidderbreen is
Okay.
leaving, but we still have Brian with us. And
Call me if
so
you need me.
item 3.2, campus seismic study, and so this is for information only.
It
And
is, and I handed out, it's almost a 70 megabyte file. But I just highlight, I printed out a few of the pages. And so number 1, if you go to page 1, the executive summary, I just wanted to show that it divides our campus into 3 groups, all 3 of our into 3 groups. Group 3 is the lower risk and no further study is recommended. And those are the green ones in the pictures. Oh yeah, good. Scroll back up here. So if you look there, and the blue is the this is great. The blue is the high, very high
very high.
seismicity.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Southern Illinois, and I thought, we had a lot of earthquakes, and moved here. I go, yeah, it was the one other place in the country that has had, or 2 others. So anyway, that was kind of fun. Always had earthquakes. But anyway, risk number category 3 is the lower risk, and on a page that I didn't print, it shows that 42% of our buildings are modular. So 42% of our buildings are fine by definition because they're just wood structure. Anyway, but then categories 1 and 2 are the ones that we need further study. So this report doesn't say if a building is sort of unsafe. It just tells you which ones to study further. And it
I see.
also goes into, and the second page that I printed was page number 9. Page number 9, if you look at the risk groups, go here, the green area right here, 54% of our buildings are fine, green. But keep in mind that 42% of our buildings
Or modular.
are modular, right? So, so if you take those out, it shrinks. And the more at-risk buildings, then what does that say? 36% up there in the top left-hand corner. Yes, right there. Those are the ones that we're concerned with, the ones that are the red or the pink. And then they weight those averages because a building that's, questionable, if it has 1 or 2 people, it's one level of it. If it's the gym and it has 5,000 people in it, it's a totally different. So you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, weighted risks. Our big buildings that hold a lot of people are 50% of them need the highest sort of level of power continued.
So the question that came up for me as I was through this is modular buildings are safer. And yet the city wants us to get rid of our modular buildings. I mean, they're safer except they can totally fly off their foundations.
Yeah.
And they don't look good. Well, maybe they could. Maybe we should do everything modular.
Why are they safer? Because
Because
perhaps
they
because you
are.
can get out of them
Because
quicker.
they're wooden and they're small and,
And
they're
they go like
inefficient.
this.
And so, that, I won't make that argument if you have a campus of modular. But yes, I guess if you want. But our modular buildings are the ones that we have, they were brought mostly here as the temporary.
Yes.
And the coastal commission, allows you to do something that's temporary while you do something else. Sort of stretch that. Like I say, some of them we were put on here were going to be 18 months when I was here in around 2000, and we're still here. So I understand what you're saying. And when you look at the pictures, I printed page 10, 11, and 12, that those get the green. If I can start on the main campus, West Campus, the BC building is the darker red, and the library is darker. And both of those have a theater in them. Not a theater. I was surprised and kind of pleasantly surprised that the theater is
The garden.
the Garden.
What's a newer building?
It is, and the parking structure being pink was a surprise too. Usually those. So anyway, and then I don't want to dwell on this too much. If you go to the second page, main campus, this the administration building, which is quite old, with dark red. The gym, the bigger structure that holds the live fitness gym, that's red. Campus center is darker red. So these are things that we need to, and then if you go to a Shot and Wake Center, I was surprised, Shot Center, I think it's wooden.
Wait. Is this humanities over here?
Yes, on the far right.
We just built that.
No, we remodeled the inside.
Oh,
Facelift.
okay.
They did a really nice job, won awards. But the building is still.
But we didn't make it
built in the
earthquake
60s.
safe.
And I think they did improve some pieces of it, but again, this does not mean that it's unsafe. This means that given the materials it's made out of, the time that it was built.
Okay,
The
so are
next
they gonna
step-
do that?
No, we have to do that, and they won't do it to all of our buildings. We will fix. So the first step is to say which ones should you look at, and then let's prioritize those, because the next step is expensive. Right, because here they look at the records, they look at the building superficially. The next step is you actually go in, you remove the ceiling tiles, you get connectors, things like that, and do a lot more work. The next step is more expensive and more thorough on every.
This is really a higher level
Very
view, and just because a building's wooden doesn't mean it's safer. It depends on how old it is, what kind of construction.
Right. This was, yes, exactly. So this is giving you an idea of your where you should prioritize the work. And that's really what we asked them to do.
And so what we paid for this, it was produced. What are the next steps for this?
We wanted to bring it here, and then, Kendra's not here. I suspect that we want to work with the structural engineer and look at the risks and say which one, handful of buildings we want. I think administration will.
I'd say that wouldn't we also want to look at what we're thinking about for the bond measure? And, see where those buildings, does it really make sense? Does it heighten the need for those buildings because of the size?
Right. And like the gym here is dark red. And I would say, based off the discussion, our first thing, we wouldn't want to spend too much money looking at it.
No,
Right?
right.
So,
That's
Yeah.
a really good point. Maybe we don't need to look at the ones we know we're gonna replace. But on the other hand, knowing how bad they are will help us with the bond because we can,
More information.
more
that.
information.
Well, and when Maria and the team is done with the educational master plan, that's really what's going to drive facility,
Yes.
because you plan for the program for the student outcome, and so that's underway. So there's a couple
Oh, there's a
things
lot
in
of,
tandem
there's
that
a lot of
will
components to
get
that,
there.
yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
sure.
Item 3.3 is English as a second language building update, and this is also for information.
So I just put this on there because I wanted you all to know what we were doing and what happened. So the ESL building, which if you go back to your East Campus, it's one of the green buildings. It's the physical science building is in the very center of the page. You see that PS? Right to the right of that is a green square.
The one that says 1971?
1971. That's
Okay.
it. So that's the ESL building.
Okay,
Now, the ESL building was a modular building that was brought in, 50 years ago for temporary, and it's still there.
I think you just provided evidence to Ellen's claim that she thinks you could just build a modular and live there for 50 years.
There you go. And it gets a green, not because it's in good shape, it gets a green because,
it's modular.
and it's wooden and it doesn't have a lot of stucco. Anyway, so
I'm
that
sticking
building,
to it.
when it rained earlier this year,
Uh-oh.
really hard, water pooled underneath the building. And I think it's been pooling under the building for a while. And then about the same time, a little before that, the HVAC system gave out. And so when the water pooled under the building, it started to become musky. And so the staff said something we went overlooked, and there's water in the building, and so we did air testing and said, everybody, get out. There's
Mold.
And so then we started looking, what would it cost to mitigate the mold? And it's actually got mold. We would have to tear out part of the building and rebuild it and change out the HVAC and then excavate around the building. Here's real quickly. What they would do is they would come in, they would take out the floor in several places, pump out the water, and then saturate the building for days with superheated to dry it. Then they would patch it all back up. They would tear out all the mold and patch that up. And then we would redo the HVAC. And then on the outside of the building, we would excavate it and make it so water didn't run. The total estimate for that was about $500. And literally, it's got quite a few offices in here, but about 5 people. Sometimes it's busy and there's quite a few people, but other times it's pretty light. So we thought, better than spending $500,000, let's find them a place on campus. And so we found there's a couple programs, dual enrollment and foster care, which is I think one staff person, and then ESL. So we're moving ESL up to the 3rd floor of the humanities building. There were a number of rooms up there that were very lightly used. And School of Modern Languages, part of them. And so they're consolidating. ESL is going up there. Dual enrollment is going over to the 2nd floor of the Student Services building. You think, what's up there? It's a room full of, it used to be something else. Now it's a room full of furniture. It's just a room. And they're going to be able to fit in there. So my goal is to stop heating, cooling, cleaning, maintaining buildings that are lightly used and actually consolidate everybody into our permanent buildings and then tear out the buildings that are 50 years old. So that's our first attempt at doing it.
Sounds like efficient facility utilization.
I hope. So that's our goal. It's on here just to show you what we're doing, and so when you see, wow, they tore down a building, you'll know why.
That's great.
Excellent.
So that's that item.
Thank you. Anything else, Maria? You have anything else to add with regard to this dual enrollment, humanities? No?
I do not. Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Excellent. All right. Item 3.4, East and West Campus entry projects, another item for information.
Yes, and so the state has been, the city has been trying to improve bike lanes and throughout the city. The Cliff Drive is one that they've been, they're on for many years, and they got a grant to do from, I know at least from Meigs Road down to Rancho. And it's to put a dedicated bike lane in, put crosswalks, throughout landscape, trying to slow down the traffic. But they're doing that, and as they come by our two entries, they're giving us the opportunity to put in stop, which will be a huge improvement. And so we have to pay for them. And so if I could have you open up the East Campus side, it's the bottom. There we go. And this is I'm sorry. Back.
Campus entries, projects.
Try that one. I'm looking for the drawing. There we are. Yes, okay, so let's see. Make that bigger. What I want to show you, the West Campus really literally is just stoplights. And that's not too expensive. Stoplights are very expensive, but compared to the East Campus, our entryway has always been a problem. Okay, yes, okay, perfect. So you can see right here, this is the existing one right now, is that we have the two entries. One is over to the left, that one way, and the one to the right. So some time ago, and if we have a stoplight at the main entry, we lose the one on the bottom one. So scroll, if you would, down. We have, this is the existing, now we keep going. Here it is, here's the new entry. And there's a couple of things that have changed. One is, well, there's obviously a bike path by there. You can see, I think it's green, I can't tell colors very well. I think it's green at the top, that run along there. There's a stoplight there, and we've lost that first entry over to the left. And then we would re-landscape. The other part is that the buses would pull all the way on. You can see where they are right now. I think it's like blue area below that. They would cross the bike path now, and they would drop off students on this side of the bike path rather than on the street side. So you see down there it says open gathering area. So we are redesigning it so the bus actually comes all the way over. Now, if you scroll down, it may show another version of that with them. Pedestrian plaza, no, keep going. Have it, bus stop. Yeah, there it is right there. There's what we want to do right there. So the bus crosses over and drops off the students on this side of the, because the original drawing from several months ago shows them the other side, and that was a good idea. They would be dropping them off, actually. And the other part is that, think of the bike path is going to come all the way, from Meigs Road. It could have decent sized amount of traffic, and electric bikes move along there really quick. Cars move along there very quick. So if you're dropping off students, you could have bicycles coming by 25 an hour, and you will have. It'll become a raceway. So we went on this side.
Which is why there's a movement to limit
The electric bikes?
electric bikes to
Yeah.
20 miles.
Yeah. So anyway, so this project, I have the cost estimate some. At the end of the thing I've talked about it, but we'll need about, between the two projects and all of the soft costs, I think around $4 million in total. Because you can see there's quite a bit of change in this. We're losing that whole driveway area, reconfiguring the driveway that's remaining, installing the stoplights. Anyway, it's a decent sized project, and so we don't have to do, but this is our opportunity, given that the city is doing things.
Oh, I think
So
we
it
should,
seems
because
like-
it will be much safer.
I think it will be a lot better. So they're just saying, if we want to participate, because their project will just for our if we don't come forward. So it's been something that we were talking about when I was here 20 years ago. Is it's such a dangerous, getting onto the road, taking a left turn, especially with the way cars come.
Why wouldn't the city be paying for the stoplights?
There are requests.
I see.
It's,
In both cases,
Both
it's
cases,
it's our request.
Right.
it's to mitigate, unfortunately, the fatal.
No, I
accidents.
know the reason for it. I'm just asking why
So request.
normally a city pays for all
Well,
the.
they got, it's not their money, they got a grant, and I think the grant only went far, and so they're trying to get as much of this as they can. And so if we want improvements for us,
So I noticed that this is going to involve some re-landscaping. You know what I'm gonna
you're
say.
gonna say butterflies, plants, and vegetable.
Only natives. No eucalyptus, they are not native.
I promise you, if I'm here, there won't be one eucalyptus planted in the open.
And really, Ellen, the discussion, I mean, a lot of different things were explored. The original vision, and it was beautiful, is this beautiful turnabout. And we even were trying to court the city to give us Loma Alta right there, because it's really the thing that divides our two campuses, so that students aren't crossing, and that the city, we would have just this beautiful walk down to the beach. In the relationship of everybody trying to figure out how to do this, everybody's grand dreams have limitations with regard to funding. But for us, this was really a way to capitalize on some construction that was already going to be occurring, that's going to be affecting us anyway for us to participate. There was a discussion, Brian, with regard to the experience as guests and students enter our campus.
If you
and
scroll
is
down,
that,
if you scroll,
I
it's
feel like
it's
it's
still
down
there,
there.
it's still there.
Okay.
Now, this is not part of my sort of request to you here, but this is it. That's the administration building. If you were to look at it from the little turnaround there, scroll back up if you would.
So like, that's like the Helen
So
Pedote.
exactly, yes,
oh, okay.
yes, yeah, right. And I wasn't involved in any of this. I've only been sort of talking to them about actually interchange and the changes to the front entry. But this is what KBZ had designed at somebody's urging, I think, earlier, and that's exactly what you're saying.
and is the kiosk still there?
The kiosk is still there, yes, right there, yeah. But it does show a completely redesigned sort of administration building, sort of front door, if you will, which is that. If you scroll back up yeah, right here. Yes. Again, it's part of this presentation. Something they've been working on. I don't know much about that. The part that I'm bringing to you today is the entryway and our need to sort of, if we're going to do it, the city, I have a schedule, I think one of the other schedule here that says if we're going to start working with the city, we kind of
There's some questions.
Oh, I'm just very. No, there's no bridge. There's no bridge. Or it's just a cross. It is just a cross. Yeah, here's the schedule, and this is one of the key things, is that if we want to go forward with that, we kind of have to start incorporating our planning in with the city's planning, because they want to start the project here, I think, in the next couple of years. So we'll want to have engaged our architect working on inclusive. So we have the summer coordination meeting with the city's hired consultant, identification project. What's theirs, what's ours, and then moving forward. So you can see he's kind of laid out in really broad terms what we need to do. So we need a kind of a go, no go.
So the price on this is 2.7 million for
One,
the east side,
yeah.
600 for the west side.
And the
Yeah.
rest I was saying was all the soft costs. That's just, I think, construction cost.
Okay,
So the permitting,
there'll be additional costs.
correct. That's why I sort of estimated 4 million.
And on the west side, it's basically putting in the lights and paving, new paving. Would that new paving go all the way down to?
No, that's just the entryway.
Just
I've got another one for the paving.
okay.
Brian,
But boy, it is a mess. It is. I'm sorry. I just think both of these projects are really important. You know, not just for safety, but just the entrance to our institution. I think is really important. How we look to it's part of how we look to the community.
been to the shot center?
Not recently. Yeah,
Lots of fun.
yeah,
You'll need to drive an older vehicle.
yeah. But, well, I know, I mean, I know that. So, I don't know, it's important.
It is, it's very important. That's why I brought these because I think they're important. That if we're going to go out for a bond measure, you don't want to ask people to help you have needs to be looking nice and asking for money to program the place. You can't look bad.
Stewardship. I said to
exactly.
Brian, I said, have you driven around some of the oldest homes in Santa Barbara that look pristine? And it is, yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, because as you know, that is a big value. It's financial stewardship, but also just resource stewardship. To Art's point, Brian, he made me think, have we engaged our partners at Santa Barbara Unified with regard to, because McKinley's right across the street, in terms of, not necessarily, I mean, a bridge would be beautiful if you imagine all the children pedaling coming down to see our plants and the outdoor learning. But because there is some safety improvements when the children and the families are walking up along, you've seen it.
I have not,
I'm wondering if they're part of this.
20 years ago, I went in, I would meet with the principal over there, and they were always worried about their students walking.
Yeah.
Even on the sidewalk, because traffic. I don't think that's changed much in 20
Right.
years, maybe it's gotten worse. So, no, I have not, in my time here, worked with them, but I suspect people really take that corner very quickly, very quickly. I don't know what it is, it's like sell them.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if it's worth the, hey, FYI, it's all the same money. And like you said, we all pay our tax bills, it goes into the treasury comes back to us. And so it's worth saying, city's doing this, we're jumping on to do this. Just asking FYI, they may not be interested, but it seems like a good opportunity for them to just add, not that McKinley's a beautiful historical building, but if that whole area can be improved for everyone.
I will reach out to them, and
FYI.
if we move forward with this, which it sounds like we're going to, at least the full board, I will reach out to them and let them know. Okay. Thank you, that's all I
Thank
have.
you, Brian. So item 3.5, Faculty Resource Center relocation design, and you briefly mentioned.
I did, and so you'll see on the agenda the next. Okay, so in the June 15th meeting, I'm taking a proposal to you, KVZ, to redesign inside of the LRC to provide for the FRC and move tutoring down. I just wanted to let you know why I so anyway, I'm not sure what that is. It seemed like a pretty well-received project.
From the staff. Then item 3.6, 5-year capital outlay plan, and this is a routine item that's due every
It
summer.
is due every year, and I did make the revision
Okay.
that
Good.
and I am familiar with the
Yes.
workshop over there. There's a
What's the
street,
revision?
it's the Luke Rand
Parent-child workshop.
Yeah,
Parent-Child Workshop in Carpinteria, and believe it or not, 20 years ago, there's a street, like Oak Street or something. It stops right there.
It does.
And it used to have, on the drawings, it went through that property. So they
Exactly.
vacated that.
They gave us an easement.
Right, and I was
Well,
part
I
of
say
that.
us,
I was
but-
actually
oh.
part of that, around 2000 or something. So I was over there with the
Oh.
kind of a ceremony when this happened and all of that.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't own that section, but
Correct.
it's part of our yard. I mean, we.
Right, exactly.
And,
Right.
yeah.
The street never was built
No.
out there, and it was sort of,
No,
so it was formally done around 2000. So,
that part.
yeah, so
Yeah.
anyway, so thank you because we had
Sure.
not listed that as one of our projects. Oh, I don't see it on my, I thought they updated it. They did. There is a new one.
I saw it.
A 5-year, yes, it's not on here.
Okay.
But the rest of the plan is the same. So if I could go through it really quickly.
Please.
This is how you get in line for projects at the state. So years ago, the Chancellor's Office really organized the way facilities are managed and reviewed and all of that. So it created this fusion system where you put all the buildings in there, how they're used, the age, a lot of the other material things about them. And you use that system to demonstrate this role in something. And so that's part of this, is this data that comes from us. Then we say, of all of the buildings there, what's our priorities on something to do and to fix. And you have this multi-step process. You can put in an initial project proposal, IPP. And if that's accepted, then you can do an FPP, which is the final project proposal. And those are different levels of effort on our part and different levels of the state's part on terms of what they were fund. So in this, if you go to, let's see what, it has a list of all the places where we hold classes in our colleges. It has all the places where all of our buildings. Then if you go to, what is page 7, 100-page report, it's got our list of projects that in our priority list. So number 1 is the PE swing space, make ready, tearing half the building down. Number 2 is a PE building replacement. Number 3 is a new student services building, which we have an FPP already in for that. Next one, the physical science building replacement, which we're putting in an IP. Solar panel installation. These are holdovers too. I don't know that there was any discussion as to how these things were ranked.
That was my question.
Pretty much was what we had done before. We didn't have the swing space on there, I don't think, last year, so we put that on there. And we did put in for the IPP physical science. But, I'm sorry.
So does that mean we're going to ask them for money?
Through this process, that's sort of what we're doing with the FPP for the new student services building. It has not been funded. You can see it there on this is on page 7 that phases E and W, which are plans and working drawings, right there, $2.3 million for the plans, and $31 million for the new building. And I'm not sure exactly. Oh, that's our the state. Oh, yeah, this is what we would be committed to in the state. So,
So
We still have to list it.
So sometimes they give you money even if it's not seismic safe. Sometimes they give
I'm
you money.
rusty on this. It's a scoring. The more you have, there's things that will improve your score. One of them, number 1, is how much money are we contributing?
Okay.
Right? That's why places that districts that have a bond measure also get this because they'll say, I'll kick in half.
Yeah.
Right? And so it'll score a lot higher. The other thing is it unsafe or does it have asbestos or something like that? And so we have the P building, which it is because of the structural protection. And again, I knew this really well a long time ago. I'm a little rusty on all of the processes.
We had Veronica knows this better than I do, but earlier in my tenure here, we had a presentation
From Eric.
Yes. And I was just overwhelmed with complexity, and that's what it is. It's a complex formula for deciding what is given preference.
It's very orderly.
Based on a lot of different factors.
Exactly, it is. And if you do it well, and Eric is the expert, one of the people who helped design it, is our person really good at it. And so that's why you go and have a person like him. Some districts are big enough, they have their own. They're Eric. And so, again, I'm really rusty as the exact procedure, but it has to be submitted by the July 1st. Right now, funding for these kind of projects, we'll talk more about the state budget. I'm sure needed. It's looking a lot worse than it has. So I don't think there'll be a lot. anyway, so that's the project, and then it's 100 pages of detail. But really what we're doing is, I think the other item was the Learning Resource Center. IPP for this. This is something that I learned when we were, so there's an IPP for the Learning Resource Center, which is the official name of the library. Is when we were in there looking to put the FRC in there, we realized that a lot of parts of the library just need improvement, like outlets, right? For students who walk in, there's no place to plug in the Wi-Fi network. So we just want to modernize the lighting, efficiency, electrical outlets, that sort of thing. So this wasn't on the radar before, but once I got in there and started saying everybody's complaining about the general condition of the building, let's put it in modernization. It's not like it's bad, it's really actually quite nice. It just doesn't have a lot of the modern features.
Could you talk to us a little bit about the solar panel installation?
So this is it was on the list from before. There's a consultant that has approached us. Now, there's certain ways to go about solar. You probably know one of them is that you find places to put them and you buy them and you install them. And that's what we have out in the West Campus. Is 15 years ago, we bought them, installed them, and it produces 5%. But it's another way, which is what schools, local schools have done, is they've done a deal, it's called a power purchase agreement. And you literally hire somebody, they put them on campus, and you buy electricity. It's called a power purchase agreement, and it's like a 20-year deal about the life of the solar panel, and you still pay your electric bill. You just pay it from a company that's installed solar panels on your property. And I've always shied away from those, just because because you can do it to your house too. You can.
And they have a similar arrangement for residential.
They do, yes, absolutely. And then you have somebody else's equipment on your house that you don't own, so it complicates ownership or selling your equipment. And it complicates having the campus. But it's a way to have it pretty quick. Right?
But do you pay as much, or do you pay a reduced rate for your electricity?
Probably, I don't know exactly, that would be part of the deal, but it's not the deal. If you look at solar in terms of savings, then you'll never do it. Just what? I mean, it's cheaper today than it was in the past. There's other reasons to go solar, which in my opinion, that's the reason to do it. It's not the cost to do it. Even if it is slightly less, I still think having solar panels is the way to go.
Well, I put solar panels on my house when I retired. So that
Sure.
But it's paid for itself.
Yes. Over it's about for residential, it's like
You
7 years, and
own
you're
the solar panel.
I own the solar panels.
Right.
And I go through Edison, so I didn't put in a battery. But it's paid for itself. And so now what I'm doing is when I replace anything in the house, I buy electric as basically free.
I'm the same way. I even got rid of my gas grill practically, and I grill on electric grills.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. So
Yeah.
it's like paying residential. It's like paying 7 years of your electricity bill all at once. After the 6-7 years, it's you're making. Anyway, so solar panels are in our long-range plan to do, but there are other avenues that having to be funded with our. So, and a lot of other places are going to PPA. And so I was going to engage that company.
What's that?
Power purchase agreement. So I was going to engage this company because they approached us recently, and have time. But now I've reached out to them again last week and said, let's meet. So I'll bring it to the board and say, here's their proposal. The foundation is wanting to help us to fund a study to say, where could we locate the panels? How many will we need? And what would the deal be? So that's what this consultant bring to us. We have time.
And their deal would be that they would own the.
No, they're just designing, telling you what you need, and
Okay.
then we would go find, as part of that, someone to because there's company. Anyway, so that's, but we are moving forward on that.
Well, thank you for gathering all that information
Sorry,
and
I'm
bringing
really
us. No, that's
dragging
good.
this out.
It's good. And Santa Barbara Unified, they're ugly. And they took up a lot of, as you can see in driving by, they took a lot of field from the children. As it is when we don't have fields for soccer and
what's
blah, blah,
ugly?
blah. The solar panels, I mean, literally Santa Barbara Junior High, you took a third of the field that was used for sports. And then Roosevelt, they already don't have a lot of play area and they took a whole area of that. So I appreciate you looking at all of this, Brian, and saying that some of them may or may not be the best way. And I don't think the route they went was the best use of land, especially because we don't have a lot of grass for kids to play.
Well, yeah, we would be looking to the
Up the-
driveways
Yeah.
or
Building
parking
tops.
lots.
Parking lot.
Building tops are markedly more difficult. They really are. On the ground is the easiest way to do it. The PE building is designed to hold them.
I saw that.
It's not designed, the infrastructure for the actual panels was not included in the cost. And it is structurally able. But it's still more expensive
Mhm.
there, putting them on.
Well, we could just cover the Great Meadow.
Right. One of the other things on the last item is, are we finished with this, the 5-year plan?
If you want to conclude, we can.
Yes, I am. That's really all I
Thank
want to
you.
do. It's
Excellent.
more of a formality. We need to get it
Yeah.
submitted. It's not,
And Ellen, I have, I'll look at my notes because I believe that the student services building is not not a demolition, it's a renovation, which is why we have to keep the square footage and there was some details around that. So hopefully by the next board, but when this does come, we'll get that information.
Okay,
Marcia will remember. Item 3.7, anticipated request.
so I put this on there because it's a big one. Because there are a number of things that we just need. One is paving. Driving in, that our driveways are in bad shape. So we got an estimate just to do the worst parts of the main campus and the shops. And that's about $4 million. And that's a rough estimate. Now, one of the things in that project is which is why I'm pushing forward with solar panels, is because I thought if we're going to do solar panels over part of the parking area, we want to make sure that we do the trenching and all of that before we pave. So I'd like to see if we did put solar panels, where would they be, and what's the conduit we would need to run before that, and we would do that as part of the project, because no one wants to pave everything and then 3 years later come back and dig it up for any reason. So that was part of one of the things I said, additional car charging station infrastructure. It's not like I want to put in the panels, I want to put in the conduit.
understood.
Where,
Brian, for what we have now right outside this building, that was a Prop 39 grant. And the caveat with that was, so we didn't pay for that, and so that anybody in the community can charge their car here.
free. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so
I didn't remember what the funding source was. I know that it's not a PPP. We own them.
and that was, they gave us the money so that anybody can come use it. So what is this right here, additional car charging station infrastructure?
All this is if we do a paving project, I would like to have done this study to say if we're going to put in solar panels, where would they be? And where, if in those locations, would we need to run conduit to them? And that conduit, does it go under the road? If the answers to that is all yes, then I would want to run the conduit first as part of that project, which would make it more expensive. But then we wouldn't be digging up, if we went with solar panels 2 years from now, we wouldn't be digging up something.
Because we don't need additional car charging stations, it's just so that we
No,
could have
this
it
is-
available just in
Well, I'm thinking that
To power the buildings.
well,
That's what-
the solar and I said car charging stations. I meant solar and car charging stations because I do think we will. Yeah. I think if we have, I think we have, I can't remember. We have a handful
Yeah.
right now, but if we look down the road 30 years,
So let me clarify, not that we won't need them, that they're definitely Verizon Teslas driving around town. What I'm wondering is, we don't have to pay for them. And so I would like us as part of this to look at what is available from the state and if we can get something like what we did with what's outside now, because that didn't cost us.
In any event, free or someone else paying for it, we would still not want to dig up our paving. So I was just saying, if we
Yeah, makes sense.
go forward with the paving, we should also say, will we down the road want to have infrastructure
go.
for solar or charging? I said at charging stations, I meant to say solar.
Makes sense.
So I'm wondering if we're gonna have as much of a need for parking in the future as we've had in the past, because, campus is downsizing
Mhm.
from what it was, 10 years ago, and B, with all those electric bikes, I don't know that our students are gonna be driving.
Right? I rid my electric bike all last week. I live awful close. Yeah, but good point. I don't know that it used to be when I was here 20 years ago,
Yeah.
parking was
Mhm.
a hot topic.
Yeah.
Parking not a hot topic. Parts of the shadow of the building. Anyway, my next one, main campus exterior lighting. I don't know if you look around our campus, but a lot of times the lights are on during the day. If the lights are on, they're always on. If the lights aren't on, most likely they never. Our outside lighting systems are, they're done. The computer program that used to run them at night and during the day doesn't work. The conduit between the lights has collapsed in some places, rusted, some lights just don't work. So this is my estimate to kind of read outside. We get a lot of complaints about dark areas, and there's really nothing we can't put in the back. And they don't have floors. So, it's like paving. The whole area over behind the communities building, it's dark. And I don't think that's good.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. I went to the Mesa Association one day, and they talked about our lights. They were saying that we had to raise my hand and say, we might.
But there's lighting, there's exterior lighting you put in now that doesn't impact.
Doesn't. Yeah, so we need a.
The light stays where it's supposed to be.
Right. So we need that. So I have a lighting on here because that's, in my opinion, the next one is the Wake Center fire hydrant. Actually, if you go back to this picture of the Wake Center, which is the last page that it's right here. Let's see. If you go back up to there you go, right there, the Wake Center. Yeah, next one. Okay, now. So the bottom of this picture here is Turnpike. And there's a fire hydrant right across the street, just over, where it says Tina Structural. It'd be right over there, right across the street. That's where the fire hydrant is. And when Wake Center was built, that fire hydrant was sufficient. But now, with all of this stuff that we've added in the back, it's not. The fire marshal came and said, you need to put in a fire hydrant on each side of the back. And that's about it. He gave us two choices. We could take out all of those modular buildings, or we can put in 2 fire hydrants. So I went out there thinking, we'll get rid of the buildings.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that building.
They love them and they're earthquakes.
The earthquakes, these at least get a light rating. So anyway, so that's another need. We don't have an option. If we're going to have those buildings back there, we need to install 2 fire hydrants. And the last one is the Cliff Drive East Campus, West Campus. So those add up to $11 million.
I would like to add.
Yes.
I'd like to have the elevators checked on this campus, because
I agree with you.
they don't work. And I got trapped in one time. It was scary.
All the elevators, all the bathrooms.
I know, but the elevators,
The
we
elevators
have
are,
to.
yeah. I didn't know there was any unsafe ones. I know some of them are
Some of them just don't work.
Okay, yes.
And one of them we got trapped in one time. It was like halfway up, halfway down. It was rather scary. Physical science.
I agree.
Okay, can you have that too?
Elevator. So those are my items. That right there adds up, not including your elevators, is $11 million of our, and we have reserves of, which I asked for more than probably you are ready for, but that would use most of our, and I don't think we have too much of a choice. Now keep in mind, remember the PE building was going to be 7.
And how much is in this reserve?
Our reserve, well,
That we're
right
talking
now, I
about that we
think
can
last
use.
month, we had undesignated reserves around 12 million, and the designated reserves around 23 or something like that. So we would quickly run out of
Yeah.
we'd get into your reserve that you need. So
No, we
anyway,
always had good financial stewardship. In fact, you'll remember in 2007, when the state was holding money, Santa Barbara City College has always been able to make payroll, whether the state gave us money or not. And so that's something that was Luis Villegas, Joan, this is trustees. When I was a student, of just very conservative fiscal stewardship that has served us well because we were able to cut payroll at times where some colleges were having a lot of. So yes, you're right, Brian. Reserve. It's not finite. It is finite. And
So there's no money to pay for these except for taking out of reserves. Like there's no.
that's our.
so in theory, we have the fund to and out, but the amount of money going out, so many things that need to get fixing. It's just like a bucket with holes.
But we have competing demands on it. We
Yes.
talked about today, one is for the PE building and one is for.
I just wanted
They're
to.
compelling reasons for each other.
So anyway, I wanted to, bring to you what I think are some of the more high priority lighting, pavement.
What's the process going forward now on the project?
I'm sunshining it here with the idea that we'll bring it to the board, but I wanted to give it to the committee.
They're all essential items.
Yeah, yeah.
I think so.
Excellent. Thank you,
Yeah,
Brian.
thank you. Sorry, it was the
It's-
Brian show today.
It was
So,
perfect.
so-
Well,
The goal is to get out of here. Is there a motion to adjourn this
So
meeting?
Did
moved.
anybody want to say anything? We have all these people.
Anyone else before we adjourn? Any thoughts on what we heard? Not seeing no hands. We will adjourn at 5:52. Thank you.
Less than 2
Yeah.
hours.
Good discussion. Thanks.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Art. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
We need 2 people to do the job. One